An Homo sapien where? What now? You know, I wrote recently that because of my own theory on HSD is to actually self-actualize this, let's just say software to become an Homo sapien, because you're not born an Homo sapien. An Homo sapien is described by behaviors, which of course, they don't really exist as a species, but it's possible that maybe at this point, with HSD being so intensely infected in most people primates of the world, the Homo communia, it's possible theoretically, and I've never met anybody, but at this point in the Anthropocene, it's possible there's about maybe, and this is again, it's really hard to gauge for this. There's maybe 670 Homo sapiens somewhere on planet Earth. Okay, and again, this is totally theoretical. There might be zero. As our people primate species defines Homo sapien by behaviors, I've never found one. So I like that CBC News today is having guests. I ask people a lot of time. I said, what country did the Nazis invade first? And nobody actually, I would say about 90% of people don't even try to answer that. They are afraid to give an answer. And but I give them the answer anyway when I bring it up. It is Nazis invaded Germany first. So one of the guests on CBC News, speaking on the report with the journalist I like, who seems to have a nice haircut as well, and he's saying, yeah, it mostly needs to be taken care of from the inside, right? The problems with Israel being out of control in the realm of their leadership elites is it needs to be taken care of from the inside. So if Nazis were, let's say, a cultural cancer, then yeah, you don't apply the cure when you recognize this, to the neighbors, cousins, and on their thumb when your cancer is in your prostate or something, right? It's not the right response. Of course, Homo sapiens would know this. So it's not appropriate to expect miracles when the solution doesn't come from the inside. So the people from Israel, if they are the good people they claim to be, is they would, even though the problem of their ideologies, of their most extreme fundamentalists, which usually are the ones that rise to power, it seems, because the majorities are very much, look the other way when bad things happen to the point it escalates. Again, this is what happened with the Nazi Party. This is what's happening in multiple cultures of the world right now. And it's kind of weird that, Israel has a manifest destiny type ideology, their elites anyways, and so do many of the elites of the USA. So of course Republicans will turn against each other because they use methods that are toxic. So of course that's all they know, they'll use them with themselves, just like Conservative Party members. So let's say people in Canada vote in Conservatives. Well, they're very toxic. They're going to turn against each other. You think they'll get more done than liberals that don't turn against each other so much and that even have associations with other parties? Hey, you figure it out if you think you're an Homo sapien. Same thing with Russia. Has to be more things going on the inside. Now, if you say, hey, it's dangerous for us in these countries to do this, well, you're proving your country is toxic when you're saying this. And Canada right now, I wrote an email to a few high-level politicians, including Trudeau, saying, hey, can you explain your incongruence and confusion with protests that are not anti-Semitic, but yet you want to label them that way, when most people are just, hey, we're against the killing of mostly a higher percentage of innocent children and non-combatant civilians, and you still don't get that point. Again, the Anthropocene is related to the flaws of our species. And that's again what I wrote to somebody who was talking about climate change today. So people, it's really mostly at the root that our species is very, very sick, and that any solution to anything about anything, wars, poverty, inequalities, poor education, mental health workers that need more services than the people that they serve in mental health. It's a systemic issue with a species that considers itself more evolved than it was 3,000 years ago or 10,000 years ago, and the evidence kind of doesn't really prove that. And if people don't believe me, then I would say, well, when you watch the international news, do you think all of this is made up? Then how do you explain, if not for what my theory says, how do you explain, did the Anthropocene come because something went wrong with the planet and we need to fix it? No, the Anthropocene is about our behaviors as a collective. So again, any solution, and again, it's Valentine's Day today, and I love my Creator. My Creator, I have overwhelming proof, is the biosphere, the natural world. So do you. I mean, if you want to have a public debate on whether the biosphere exists or not, let me know. But because I love my Creator, except I don't have communication with, I don't believe all sorts of things that don't make sense to justify non-sentient and non-sapient behaviors. But I can tell you that because I love the biosphere, any solution to any problem must include contraception. If our species is the problem, antinatalism must be included in every solution.